Hey guys, welcome to TechSource.tv. Now today on the show, we're reviewing something from Phanteks. Now you might be thinking, oh my god, they're reviewing the PH-TC90LS cooler? No. There's a reason why we can't review this just yet. But generally when you think of Phanteks, you think of this monster or the PH-TC14CS, which is pretty much the same thing but flipped like this. And only one stack. And it's still huge. They both feature 140mm fans. But we're reviewing this little guy. This little guy is the Phanteks PH-TC90LS, which is a low-profile cooler by them. It's all white. It's got a 90mm fan on it. And the whole point of it, the way I see it as, you're not going to do much overclocking with this, but you can. It's meant for a replacement of your stock Intel cooler if you need more clearance. It's about... And I'm going to get into the specifics after, but it's a little bit shorter, so it's going to fit in a lot tighter spaces. So stick around, guys. Today we're reviewing the PH-TC90LS CPU cooler by Phanteks. Welcome to the Phanteks PH-TC90LS CPU cooler. Now this is a low-profile CPU cooler measuring only in 27mm in height, which is very short. So only, it's 95 by 95mm by 95mm as well. So this is a super compact CPU cooler. Now there's really the users who are going to be using overclocking is not really intended, but it's pretty much to allow this CPU cooler to fit in a more compact situation with space being a concern in super slim situations. So if you're fitting in one of those super slim ITX cases where pretty much this fan will be hitting the side of the case and sucking in air from the side of the case, this is kind of what you want. It's got a guard on the fan. It's about my finger shorter than the it's pretty much compared to the Intel cooler, it's one index finger shorter for me. So that I'd say is a couple of millimeters there. Probably a good centimeter or so. So that's pretty nice. And as well as it uses a PWM fan. It's at max fan speed, you're pushing 28 decibels and 29 CFM. 28 decibels and 26 CFM. So that's really nice. Now 26, you might be saying, well, that's a little loud. Well, it does, because it's PWM, you can turn it down and you can back it down all the way down to 19, which is pretty silent, I would say. It comprises of an aluminum heatsink with a copper base that's nickel plated, which is good. You know, you don't want a bare copper base because over time copper just oxidizes and it's just a pain in the ass because you gotta polish it and keep it clean. Definitely CPU coolers of old, that's where they were, and I had one that I always had to keep clean because it just kept on oxidizing over time. Just the oils of your fingers would makes it oxidizing quicker. So it's really nice having these nice nickel plated ones nowadays. As well as it has two heat pipes that actually just do little loops like this on the inside. You'd have to look very closely to see those. The mounting system is really easy to mount. It only works for Intel 2011 and also 2011 and 1156 and 1155 only. No other support for any legacy sockets or AMD sockets, unfortunately. I would like to see AMD mounting system as well, or them to come out with an AMD version. And that's pretty much the CPU cooler in a nutshell. It is, its input power only needs about 3 watts, and it's, a pretty small, basic CPU cooler that is meant for a low-profile HPC or ITX situation. So let's go ahead and see how it compares to the stock Intel cooler, and as well as a Noctua NHL9i CPU cooler. So those are the CPU coolers we have against it because these are all low-profile CPU coolers, all really meant for the same application. The Intel cooler, well, it's just kind of a general purpose, but it just ends up being, look how much smaller the heatsink is. It's just got a copper base. This has got a little bit more surface area, bigger fins, and it's going to work in a bit smaller area compared to the Intel one. So let's go ahead and look at the results. the results of the stock Intel CPU cooler, stock Intel i7 377K at 3.5 gigahertz under idle and load, and also at 4 gigahertz idle and load. Room temperatures were about 21 Celsius, so that gives you kind of a base. My place kind of sits around 21 to 22 Celsius generally. I find it a pretty comfortable temperature, and I wouldn't doubt most of you guys use a similar house temperature as well. It's a pretty common one. So, anyways, all the temperatures were in Celsius, so let's go ahead and do a little breakdown of them. So, stock Intel CPU cooler, as you saw, it got, 68 under load on the 3.5 gigahertz stock clock. Pretty good. It cools it all right with the stock Intel gel. It does an all right job. But, the Phanteks does a little bit of a better job, and it cools it down a little 2 degrees extra, so it's 66. Now, it does the same thing as well under a 4 gigahertz overclock, so that's 83 instead of 85 at 4 gigahertz. Not under load, it's only a 1 degree difference, which isn't a big. Under idle, it's actually a 2 degree difference again. But when it comes to the overclock, it's only 1 degree difference. So performance between the two is not huge. But the reason why or if you're looking for a low profile CPU cooler, is just because of the height. If it doesn't fit in your case, then this is what the stock one doesn't fit in your case. This is a bit shorter. It's gonna fit. So I would say go for this. Just because it's smaller. And if you need that extra room, or say you want something that's a little bit better than the stock cooler, then go for it. It's a good cooler. It looks nice. Aesthetically, it's really nice looking. So if you need something that's smaller, and you want something aesthetically more pleasing than the stock cooler, come on now. Look at these cables. Freaking not braided, and black, and gray. It's just ugly. It's just not even it's ugly. This is a lot nicer. So, especially if you match it with a good motherboard. I can't think of anything on top of my head that would match the white, but you could probably find something to match it. So, but when it comes up to the NHL 9, it kind of just gets blown away by it. But, that's a little bit of a different CPU cooler. It's a lot more densely packed. But this one still works really good. And you know what? If you're looking for a CPU cooler to save space, and you want something that looks a little nicer, I'd say out of the 3 coolers, this is probably the best aesthetically looking wise. It's a good cooler. And you're not really overclocking, so this is a good way to make your CPU run a little bit cooler, and as well make it look a lot nicer and fit in smaller situations. So anyways, guys, this is the Phanteks PH-TC90LS CPU cooler, and it's a pretty cool cooler. So if you're looking for something that is low profile, don't pass this one up. Check it out.